Hi everyone, support the writer's strike here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Conway the Machine project, Won't He Do It? Buffalo rapper Conway the Machine coming through with the second project he's released this year. If you know anything about this guy or his Griselda Records brethren, it's that they've been on an intensely busy run since they started making waves around about 2018. Their unique strain of gritty, high art coke rap has made them a force in hip-hop today, and I think Conway has released far and away some of the best records between him and Westside Gunn and Benny the Butcher, with the consistent, lyrical, and well-produced From King to a God in 2020, to the mind-blowingly raw and exposed God Don't Make Mistakes, which Conway recently said he thought was underappreciated in terms of reception, and I have to agree. Because some of the tracks on this thing reached levels of emotional depth and devastation that we typically only associate with some of the greats in the genre, yet Conway's not receiving that level of praise. So I went into Won't He Do It hoping to hear something that would create that sea change for him, especially since he recently started his own label, DRUMWORK, where he recently dropped a collaborative project with fellow Buffalo rapper Jay Skeese. Plus, Won't He Do It also feels like a slightly bigger project from Conway. Part of the challenge of following anyone who is Griselda Records adjacent is kind of deciphering which records are the major peaks and which ones are just kind of meant to hold fans over until we hear something more ambitious. But I don't know, it seems like Conway is going for it once again on this record. Not only with tracks that have a smoother, slightly more commercial bent, but there's also production from the freaking Justice League on this project too. However, I wouldn't call this record a major departure for Conway. There's still plenty of instrumentals from Griselda mainstays like Derringer. There are numerous tracks that bring a lot of coke bars, a lot of eerie vibes, drumless loops, violent imagery. Honestly, there are pockets of this LP that, to my ears, maybe seem a bit too by the numbers by Conway standards, to the point where it's not really adding that much to the overall narrative of his music, cause he's once again running through a deeply beaten path. Take the song Stab Out, for example. I feel like Conway has written this exact song about 4 to 5 times at this point. I will say, however, there are some spots where the Machine is having a strong showing doing what he does best, especially with his tight flows on the opening track Quarters, where he is just running through these kind of intense rhyme schemes with a smoothness about his delivery that makes it seem easy. There's also Brucifix, which sees Conway teaming up with brother Westside Gunn for a very unlikely near drumless loop, which kind of sounds like the hit of a band playing at the very end of a song, kind of the horns rushing and everything, and it slowly fades out. And that slow fading hit is kind of looping over and over and over like something off a broken record. And it somehow works, and Conway and Westside keep a very tight tempo to their flows, despite the complete lack of groove to this beat. And there's also the super glamorous Monogram, where Conway is riding some very rich and very delectable pianos and strings, complete with charismatic bars, as well as this over-the-top auto-tune lead vocal on the hook, "I wanna sell cocaine forever," which is one of a few marks of Conway kind of going just a little big time on this record, which, as long as the bars and production are good, why not? I don't expect the guy to make tracks forever that sound like the cracked sidewalk outside of a trap house. The issue is, though, these poppier, sweeter moments on this record usually end up being the weakest. There's Kanye, which maybe has the biggest and prettiest instrumental on the entire project. However, aside of like the general themes of perseverance, the song isn't really much about anything. For the most part, he kind of just lets the refrain and the gospel-style choral passages take over the whole thing, and he just feels like a feature on his own track, a footnote. There's Water to Wine as well, which was kind of an attempt at engineering a sexy slow jam, and it does not go over great. It feels dime a dozen in some moments and very badly executed in others, especially with this "all girls wanna have fun" chorus that is so out of tune. It sounds out of tune even with the auto-tune. Immediately after this cut, though, we hit a bit of an interlude moment on the record with Kill Judas. And from here, I was kind of hoping for a banger ending, a banger finish to this project, and that just does not really happen. The last third of this project is maybe the most average pocket of it. Not just with utterly predictable cuts like Brick Fair I mentioned earlier, but Brooklyn Chop House feels similarly on autopilot. We just have some extra features from Fabulous and Benny the Butcher here. The only cut in the last leg of this thing I was really into was the title track, which is an introspective moment that sees Conway venting about things like social media, paranoia, being hated on the internet, jealousy, and labels trying to own a piece of his art. In some respects, the song kind of reminds me of previous cuts like Stress, but in this instance, what Conway is saying isn't really cutting as deep. Then we have a super weak closer with Super Bowl, which is a sort of generic trap cut that does have Juicy J, yes, that's a positive. But there's also Sauce Waka featured on the track, like right in the middle of it, and he sounds terrible. His rapping is so rushed on the beat, it sounds like he's trying to outrun it. Yeah, honestly, as much as I was looking forward to this record, I think this one's kind of a miss from Conway. It's just super inconsistent. There's no real direction to it. I don't think he has a supremely impressive topical or thematic showing on this album either. Some songs stand out like sore thumbs. Others are certainly pretty good, but the bulk of this thing, I think by his standards, is just kind of okay. Feeling a strong 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Conway the Machine. Forever.